Tabarĩra ĩno nĩ ya kwĩrorerwo nĩ mũndũ wothe.
When Marcus was born, I went into prolonged labor. And when he finally came, I noticed that he didn't cry immediately. And I don't know what that did to me, because I felt like, things are not right. Anyway, after that, we kept on observing him, and everything seemed to be right. Apart from that, he cried a lot. Marcus would start crying at 9 p.m. and up until 5 a.m. he's still crying. We had visitors in our house, and it was, you can imagine when you have friends, there's a lot of noise, a lot of laughing. Believe you me, he switched off the lights. And that day we had him say, go. But kitambo, he would scream, he would cry. I used to have a lot of marks on my face because he would come and scratch me, bite. He was, that kind of a life. And then, of course, lack of sleep, and of course, the unexpected. I've been frustrated enough. I remember one time I got a girl all the way from Kakamega, and of course, there is the facilitation, the way they get to your house. And by that time, I was on maternity leave now with the second born. And I was reporting to work on Monday, but then it is on Thursday. She came on Saturday, then you're giving her orientation. I told her everything. She said it's okay. Then it's Thursday when I'm supposed to report to work on Monday. Then she tells me, Mama, mimi kazi nitafanya. Unaweza niachia huyu, lakini huyu usiniachie. When we went for that assessment, my husband was not ready for it. So he kept on saying, we postpone, So I told him, you know what, I'm unwell and I can't drive. So what you do, kindly just drive me there. And faithfully he did. He drove us to the center and remained in the car. We did the assessment together. Good enough, the person who did the assessment for us is my mentor. So we did the assessment together. And the first thing, when we were done, he asked me now, could you, with what we have done, tell me yourself, what do you think Marcus has? And I tried to do, autism is a spectrum. So I thought, which one sounds better? Is Asperger's. Then I said, I think my son has Asperger's. Akanihurumia.
Hi everyone, welcome. This is the Pulse Panel, a new segment on our channel. And on this platform, we'll be discussing issues that matter to you, the young people. And my name is Njeri Kamau, and I'll be your host. But before we start our conversation, I'd like to thank Cool Palace Airbnbs for sponsoring this show. They have apartments within Nairobi, along Kiambu Road, Thika Road at Roysambu, in Ruaka, and in Sosiani Estate. They have studio apartments, 1-bedroom apartments, and 2-bedroom apartments. You can call them on the number on your screen for your home away from home experience. And on today's topic, we'll be discussing the issues or the challenges surrounding raising children with disability, and specifically we'll be talking about autism. And I have an incredible guest with me, but I'll let her introduce herself a bit later. And for those who are not aware, maybe you've not heard of the term autism or you have no idea what it is, I'll read a definition. And our definition is from the National Institute of Mental Health, and this is how it describes autism. Autism spectrum disorder is a neurological and developmental disorder that affects how people interact with others, communicate, learn, and behave. Now onto our conversation. Esther, karibu sana.
Thank you so much. Asante sana, Njeri.
Yes.
As you've heard, my name is Esther Mwangi. Mostly people used to call me Esther Zak. I'm also a mother, so I'm also Mama Marcus. Mama Abby and Mama Isaac. I'm happy to be here today, and I hope that you're going to interact more.
Great, thank you. Thank you for also honoring our invite and for making it to this place.
My pleasure.
Maybe you can take us back a little bit to your journey, how it started, and then tell us, about, I'm thinking it's Marcus, yes?
You're right.
Yes. So maybe you can tell us how you found out the diagnosis, or basically how the journey started to where you are right now.
All right. It has been almost 13 years now.
Okay.
And I think it started by me learning because I went to the university and studied a course on special education. So at least even before I got Marcus, I knew about autism and so many others.
Okay.
However, some years later, we got Marcus. Marcus was born normally, and most of his milestones were okay. Actually, he amazed us because he spoke his first word that was clear and an abstract word at the age of 7 months.
7.
So yes, that is when he was able to say a word that you can hear, not mama, tata, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, from the beginning, from when the first day I saw Marcus, you know, there is a mother's instinct. Something told me something is not right.
Yeah.
One, of course, having learned so much, sometimes the education in Akwanga, it brings a lot of anxiety of the unexpected, you know. So when Marcus was born, I went into prolonged labor. And when he finally came, I noticed that he didn't cry immediately. And I don't know what that did to me because I felt like, things are not right. Anyway, after that, we kept on observing him and everything seemed to be right. Apart from that, he cried a lot. Marcus would start crying at 9 p.m. and up until 5 a.m. he's still crying. So, and with that, we started to see some elements. You know, there are things you see and, you know, like that is a red flag.
Yeah.
I was so anxious, so I kept talking about the things that I could see that I thought were not right. But the dad was like, hii masomo yako inatusumbua. Can you just let my son grow? And believe you me, Marcus is a handsome young man. So when he was a baby, he was so handsome, almost beautiful. So there was nothing that looked like he had any challenges. Those people who know him get shocked when they meet him today. However, at the age of, after 1 year, he couldn't say words. Like, he wasn't talking anymore. I also noticed that he couldn't respond if you called his name. He wasn't connecting with people. He wasn't even connecting with me, even as the mother. And I kept on trying to see, you know, and you know, where you start denying. I know, I can see, I'm the one who tell other mothers like, I think there's a point of concern. But when it came to me, I ignored and tried to tell myself, oh, we'll be well. I hope it's not going to be it. And at the age of 2, the concerns were more. So I told the father, we need to have our boy checked. We need to have an assessment. And for him, he wasn't ready for it. Believe you me, there's no way you can do it if you are only, you know, by yourself. So we had to make an agreement that if by the age of 3 years, Marcus won't be talking, then it will be time for us to do the assessment. So he turned 3 years. And I remember my sister, who had really lived with us for long, came to visit and brought him cake. You know, we had a nice time, a birthday. But for me, at the back of my mind, I wasn't even happy through that birthday. I was the concern, the anxiety, and I had already booked an appointment with the assessor without telling my husband. So I had already told an assessor, we're coming to see you on Friday. Thank God he wasn't in on Friday. So the weekend, I had the weekend to calm down, to settle. And then on Monday, we took him for the assessment. And it was confirmed that Marcus has moderate towards severe autism. And the journey started there. Of course, even as a professional, it is, unajua wanasemanga mganga hajigangi. So it was very hard for me, as much as I had this information. By the way, I had a lot of information that was not helping me. It's like everything went shut. I stopped thinking. I felt sick. But anyway, the journey had to continue. This is a baby and he has a life. So we started the intervention process. And since then, we have not stopped to date.
Okay, you've mentioned that you noticed that Marcus was not connecting with you and with other people. What does connecting look like? Like if a child is normally connecting with other people, what would that look like, and what was different for Marcus?
Okay. Basically, when we talk about connecting, obviously, being aware of their environment, having that eye contact. Like if you're talking to a child, even if it's a baby, they will look at you. They may not sustain it for long, but they will definitely look at you. So Marcus wouldn't turn. You know, I would be there trying to play around with him, but I would be on my own. You know, so those kind of things. And then if the environment is overcrowded, I remember there's a time we had visitors in our house, and it was, you can imagine when you have friends, there's a lot of noise, a lot of laughing. Believe you me, he switched off the lights. And that day we had him say, go. So they had to go, by the way. They had to leave. They had to leave. So it was becoming overwhelming. You know, these children have sensory overload.
Yes.
And basically, like for him, sound is, it disturbs him a lot. Yes. So anytime, even today, when there's too much sound, okay, of course now because of therapy and all this, he has learned how to manage. But kitambo, he would scream, he would cry. I used to have a lot of marks on my face because he would come and scratch me, bite. He was, that kind of a life. And then, of course, lack of sleep. And, of course, the unexpected. Marcus didn't know how to use a potty. So I remember the first potty I bought for him. He took it and put food. And then I'm trying to explain, but how do I explain? He's not connecting, doesn't understand. And then, of course, when I trained him, and then he knew it was to use, for long call and short call. You can imagine he would go poop, and then he would start eating the poop and smearing it everywhere, and all this, most of these things, anyway, we have overcome, but it has been a journey. It has been a journey. Yeah.
So when you speak about starting all the interventions after you got the diagnosis, what are some of those interventions?
Interventions are usually tailor-made, depending on the needs of the child. Okay. Our son, Marcus, has sensory overload in terms of sound. And of course, also he wasn't verbal, as you can hear. I've told you he started by saying very complicated words, but somehow he lost it. So there was speech therapy and occupational therapy. At the beginning, we thought, the way you get advice from people, as much as you're professional, you also want to hear people telling you of things that you could do. So I remember being told to take him to school. It's because he's an only child. He needs to interact with other children. When you see other children talking, you start talking. So I think our very first one was to take him to school. So when we took him to school at the age of 3, he didn't last a term. He didn't last a term. So we had to withdraw him. And then now, of course, we focused now on occupational therapy, of course, for him to learn his daily living skills, his independence, his awareness of the environment. He wasn't even aware of danger. Marcus would climb anywhere, anytime. It doesn't matter. So creating that, it takes in a lot of effort. Because this is not a child you will tell, moto, ukiguza utachomeka, he does not understand what that is. So he will go ahead and do exactly that. So when then of course now we had to do an audiology test because I remember I took him to Kenyatta and then the doctors were saying he's not talking because he can't hear. And I told them he can hear. But then we know when they call his name, he doesn't respond. But I told them, this is the same boy, if the TV is on, I switch it off, he will pick the remote and put it on. So he knows. He's away, he's somewhere doing his stuff. Then you switch off the TV, he comes back. He comes and turns it on. So we knew he could hear. Again, then we were told probably he has an ENT problem because of the way he used to block his ears. So we went for audiology test. But then, of course, he had heightened sensory as far as hearing is concerned. He was hypersensitive to sound. So it has been a journey of therapy, OT, school, many schools. Marcus, by the age of 5, he had gone to 7 schools.
7.
7 schools.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So that has been the journey and many, many other things. Yeah.
So what are some of the adjustments that you had to make as a family? Because now when you're mentioning the test and everything, those things are expensive. They will affect your finances in a way. Also, do they require like a special diet? Is anything that now you have to change? What basically changed for you as a family and your lifestyle?
Everything changed. Basically,
Everything.
everything changed. And thanks for mentioning about diet, because we had to do an adjustment that affected us for years. You see, now when you get this, your child, and is your first child, you are so excited. So you expose them to a lot of nice things, whatever they want. So we had given Marcus a lot of leeways in terms of interacting with the food. And when the diagnosis was done, he also went through a biocellular analysis. Now, the biocellular analysis showed that he needs food that is gluten-free and casein-free. And you know, mostly, and especially in Nairobi, our main food is wheat. So, and Marcus had a bias towards milk and towards wheat. So you can imagine we had to cut out wheat from that family completely, because Marcus would fight for it. Marcus, I remember there's a time I had to lock some chapatis, and I made sure that he didn't know where I had hidden the key. But believe you me, he found out where the key was. And he was only a 3-year-old plus. He opened, ate chapatis, played with them, you know, everything. And, and also then he would also take a lot of milk. I remember that time he would even take 2 liters of milk in one day. So that had given him a lot of complications, even in terms of his digestive system, which was definitely, of course, it was also affecting his cognitive ability and the processing of information in the brain. So he used to have a lot of constipation. He had such issues. Marcus would stay even for 3 to 3 and 4 days without eating. His tummy would swell, you know, you try unajaribu maji, you know, you get advice, you know, the way we go to other mothers to seek for advice, unaambiwa, you know, give Marcus water with glucose so that he can take a lot and then the problem will be solved. Kumbe, we are giving him sugar. And sugar also is an X in his system. So we were giving him everything wrong. And we had to make that adjustment. The other adjustment, of course, it's like your finances. Believe you me, if there is something I have come to learn, these children, may God bless those parents, because it's like they come with money. Unajua, the way tao kunanyeshanga, then unasikia makanga wamesema, Kikuyu ni 100 bob, it was 50, then it, Sasa when you get this child who has special needs, it is like, bei yake inapanda, ishapanda, bei ya kulea ishabadilika. So at some point, unfortunately, even the dad had to leave formal employment because it was becoming unbearable in terms of managing. So you can imagine it has affected us in the terms of Marcus needs to go for therapy sessions. And we tried to evaluate how it is going to work, and we agreed that the dad be the one who can, he can do many things, and then atoke uko nje ya hustle. So I remained in formal employment, and he had to now, of course, pull out so that he can be able to take care of Marcus in terms of going for therapy, you know, a lot of things. Of course, now everything has become expensive, including house helps. Somebody comes and look at you, then they look at you and tell you, kama unaniachia huyu, you have to
you'll pay
cough more, you know. So you get to a point mpaka, you know, kiatu imeisha ukisikia umekanyanga chini. So because everything you are pumping, by the way, we got even to a point of now getting loans. Yes, I remember there is a time I got 100,000 loan. Thank God it was from my sister, and we got to a point we couldn't pay. Eventually we did, but you can imagine it was a struggle. So a lot of implications come with when you have that kind of a child.
Speaking of nannies, do you tell the person from the beginning that this is the situation in my house, this is a child and everything? And then, okay, did some of them like wakakataa hiyo kazi before, like kama ni hivyo sikuji, ama they come, maybe mtu ana test 1 or 2 days and they're like, no, I don't think I can do this.
All those things put together.
Together.
Because for what I do, and even today,
Yeah.
I tell somebody, even if it is over the phone,
Yeah.
we haven't met, I haven't done that interview,
Yes.
I'll tell them this is what you expect, because I've been frustrated enough. I remember one time I got a girl all the way from Kakamega, you know, and you know, of course, there is the facilitation, the way they get to your house.
Yeah.
And by that time, I had I was on maternity leave now with the second born. And I was reporting to work on Monday, but then it is on Thursday. She came on Saturday. Then, you know, you're giving her orientation. I told her everything. She said it's okay. Then it's Thursday when I'm supposed to report to work on Monday. Then she tells me, Mama, mimi kazi nitafanya. Unaweza niachia huyu, lakini huyu usiniachie. So you can imagine. So I told her, no, I can't go with him to work. Akasema, lakini mimi usiniachie. So I told her, fanya hivi, just leave. Because then my children have to stay in their home. Hapa ndipo kwao. So those things are there. Again, some will come and they have an attitude. My son has faced enough issues with people, of course, when you leave them behind. Sometimes he was very anxious, even when you're away, because you don't know what can happen to that child. This is not a child who will come and report. Yes. Unfortunately, being the first one, you see now the others who are younger. Okay, today it's much better because they will come and tell you this and this happened to Marcus, you know. And of course, he can also, somehow you can read. There is a way he will look for ways of communicating, but kitambo it was bad. Sometimes there's a time even he would, you know, he's light-skinned. So he would be pinched, and then when you're showering him is when you see the marks. You don't know why, you know. Yeah. So those are real things on the ground.
Yes. And so when you got the diagnosis, na safari mumeanza, what did that do to your mental health? Like, you know, you and your partner.
Where? Nililia. I wanted to die. I thought death would be better. Yeah. But I looked at my son and I asked myself, now if I die,
and what becomes of him? Yes.
I mean, and what do I do? So it wasn't easy because I remember, okay, I thought at the back of my mind, I was telling myself, the day it will be pronounced, I'll be able to handle it because I had already tried to prepare myself. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case. Yeah. So at that moment, and by the way, I didn't tell you, when we went for that assessment, my husband was not ready for it. So he kept on saying, we postpone, So I told him, you know what, I'm unwell and I can't drive. So what you do, kindly, just drive me there. Yes. And faithfully he did. He drove us to the center and remained in the car. So I went with my boy in. Alone. And
he knew you were going to get the diagnosis.
Yes, he knew. I had told him that we were going for the assessment. Okay. So I think he also thought he wasn't ready. I understand, you know, from now where I am now as a parent. So he remained in the car. And when we did the assessment together, good enough, the person who did the assessment for us is my mentor. Okay. So we did the assessment together. And the first thing, when we were done, he asked me now, could you, with what we have done, tell me yourself, what do you think Marcus has? And I tried to do, autism is a spectrum. So I thought, which one sounds better? Is Asperger's. Then I said, I think my son has Asperger's. Akanihurumia. He looked at me and told me. He told, of course he knew. I was trying to make it look better. So anyway, I understand when parents try. Every parent, their child is good. Yes. So I remember he gave me a Bible verse. Akaniambia. One time Jesus, a Bible story. One time Jesus was walking with his disciples, and then they got into a boat, and there was a lot of wind in the sea. And when the disciples were very anxious, they called on him. but Jesus stopped the wind. Do you know Jesus has got power over everything? Everything that God created has ears to hear him. Be it autism, actually, that is now how he pronounced that my son has autism. And then be it autism, it doesn't matter how moderate or severe it is.
Yeah.
So no, I was adding the dots, and I was like, okay, fine. So daktari, from here, what do we do? And told me, and where is dad? I told him, do you know he's in the car? So I was like, okay, so do you want to call him or do I go for him? Kambia wacha nimwende. So I go and I told daddy, the doctor is talking to you. And that time I was so brave. So I was showing him the way we have so much, we can be able to handle it, we can do it.
Yes.
I was trying now to explain to him, alongside the doctor. Kwanza mimi nilikuwa na explain to daktari. But wacha nikuambie. After that session, we left. And I tried to keep my spirit up. So I kept on engaging him. He was quiet all through. I was the one engaging him and telling him there's so much we can do, intervention works, nini. But then, now, it was now my turn. I sank. I sank. Unfortunately, I couldn't talk to my husband. I wouldn't tell him that I'm low. Yeah. So I thought, there's a pastor friend of ours. Let me go and tell him. And he's somebody we had interacted with. He knew my profession and everything. So I went and I just called him and I told him, I would like to see you. Are you in the office? Yes. So I went to his office and I explained to him what was happening. Imagine aliliambia Esther, you have been giving us a lot of theory. Sasa uko na practical.
Yeah, but practical is rahisi.
Let me tell you, I felt crushed. Nikashindwa shughuli. I thought I was coming so that at least you can give for encouragement. Yes. Okay, I mean hakuwa na ubaya.
Yes.
But
those are not the words you want to hear.
That is not what I wanted to hear. And then I didn't want to, of course I would have ran to my husband, but I didn't want because I could see his state.
Yes.
So I decided to run to God. Huyo mwenye niliambiwa he has the power to stop the wind. Yeah. And that was it.
Okay. Actually, did it affect your faith? Ama ile unajiuliza, God, why me? Like, why this child? Like, I did everything. Maybe venye mtu ujiambia, like, I did everything right. Like, ate well if it was my diet during pregnancy and everything. Did it affect your faith in any way? Ama was that where you found refuge in God?
One, I think, of course, there are those questions. And I asked God, why did you give me? Actually, my question to God was funny. I said, I know taking care of a child with autism is very expensive.
Yes.
Why did you give me autism without money? You should have given me both. Yeah. Then my life would, I was like telling God, I mean, me, I wouldn't mind if you gave me both. You give me money and you give me autism. But why did you give me one? And of course, you didn't give me the best, But then I think out of that, asking God questions and crying to him, I found refuge. Let me say that. Where we used to live then, next was actually there was a church on our right and a church on the left. So I would be seated in the house, then I feel like cry. I would go there and I would be like, now I have a reason to cry because I am praying. And most of the time when I left that place, I would be feeling much better. Then in the process, a certain lady from that church, it's the way church ya neighborhood, see church yangu. So there was a lady who was also our neighbor and she noticed. So she came and one time she just came and hugged me. And then she told me, it is well, my dear, it is well. She didn't ask me what it is, but she told me, it is well, it is well, it is well. Nikamwambia, I believe. Akaniambia, you know what? You will go through it. There is a reason why God appointed that child for you. Yes. May God rest her soul in peace. So my journey was like that. So at least with time, I was able to gather support. The way you're able to get people, starting from at least that lady to many others who came into my life. I remember at some point she gathered a few people from their church and they came to visit me. So, and
by that point she had known about Marcus. When they
you
were
know,
coming to
we are neighbors, so she used to see
she
Marcus.
knows him,
She
yeah.
didn't know what it was, but she knew there was
Ah.
a charity. Coincidentally,
Okay.
we got the babies at the same time. So her girl could do so much.
Oh,
My
yeah.
boy could not.
Yes. the
So
milestone.
she never used to talk about it, and I would hate anytime she looked at Marcus. I would think, please don't say anything, like
I'm like thinking
don't
you're
dare,
judging my
don't dare,
son,
don't
yeah.
dare. I knew she could see. So then I was able to talk to them. I opened up, we talked. Then of course now the doctor who did the diagnosis was a very good reference point. Then I was able also to reach out to him, and I told him the way I'm seeing my husband
Yeah.
needs help. So he called him. He helped him join. There was a group. He since left the group, but it was called Autism Dads.
Ah,
So he joined that group, and a number of things and encouragement, meeting others who are even worse, because my son at least could do so many things, as much as there were so many other things that he could do.
Yes.
So I think I found strength in God, and also having people who are, supportive around me.
Yes.
Also thankful to my family, especially my mom. When I told her, and of course with mom, with your mom, you just break, you cry.
Yes.
Mom came over. She talked to me. She kept on finding out. It's like she would call every day. So how are you today? What are you doing? And then of course there are times she would come home and find Marcus very aggressive. So she would pray. So at least I got some hope that there are people at least who understand. My sisters,
Yes.
they would always come. I had the sister who actually would come and sometimes even, like relieve me, take care of Marcus for some time,
Yeah.
and help me at least to have time. I also appreciate that when my husband stood, he really did. And he even became more involved.
Then.
I would say even more than me, because now, of course, for him, he was saying, I'm better because I'm working from a point of ignorance. So for me, I have so much
You're questioning a lot.
questioning a lot, and sometimes feeling guilty. Reason being, there are things that I know he needs.
Yeah.
I'm not either unable to afford them, or unable maybe to provide, because I'm also emotionally affected. So it was better for him. It was even much better, kwa sababu yeye akiambiwa songa hivi anasonga.
anasonga.
For me, I would be, how far are we going and why?
Kwa nini tunafanya hiyo
Kwa nini
specifically?
tunafanya hiyo?
Yes. And so you've mentioned Marcus has been to several schools. To it several many schools.
Many, and currently not in school, unfortunately.
Okay, so what has been like the greatest challenge? Because while I was in school, we would see like we have a section, not even all schools actually, we would have a section for like children with disability and then us. But then there was nothing special separating us. The structures are the same. CIT, they have different learning tools. It was just they have different teachers. We have other teachers. So what has been the challenge with schooling with Marcus?
There has been a lot of challenge, and some of the challenge have been good challenge, because they make you better. So first of all, the first school I took Marcus to, it was kind of, do I say a play group? Remember, he was barely 3 years. So, and I explained to the teacher, I said, I only want my child to interact. Please don't push him into learning. He's still very young. Unfortunately, what I asked the teacher not to do is what she insisted. It was actually the school was the director and the teacher. So Marcus akapata kichapo kizuri sana, and because of course then when he gets into a noisy place, if children made noise, he would block his ears and scream, like as if he's in danger. So I remember, even by the time we were moving from that area, we would never used to pass near that school. Marcus would lie on the floor and throw tantrum and get meltdowns. So that was my first experience. So we withdrew him from that school. We started now shopping for school, and we would go with him. like, this is our son.
Yes.
Can you see the way? And then we would let him be. And then, are you able to handle? And of course, most of the schools, they would say yes. But then before you go far, you realize that they are not able to handle. So at some point now, there's one particular school we went to. And in that school, I met the director. We went and saw the director. So the director, we explained to her, and she told us that I know I am a teacher by profession, but I don't understand about autism.
Yes.
I've read about it. By then she was doing her master's, so she said, I'm studying about it, but sina confidence. So she asked us, so would you support us? If you support us to support your son, then we will work together. And I think that is one of the schools that at least we found relief. So what we did, we got an extra teacher, learning support teacher. Okay, they are called learning support assistants or shadow teachers, or learning mentors. So we had now to pay an extra teacher. So you have the school fees to pay. You have
and the teacher,
and and the extra teacher, and of course Marcus, as I've told you, issues with diet.
Yes.
His diet is very, very particular. So again, you're paying, but then you're even paying for the meals, but you have to pack his meals. So you can imagine the cost. So at that time again, we had now also started therapy. So he would go for speech therapy twice. He would go for
this is twice a week.
Twice a week, and occupational therapy for thrice a week. Believe you me, those sessions are expensive. 3,500 per hour. So in 1 week, and we have this shadow teacher to pay. The shadow teacher is the one who would escort our son out to the therapy sessions, because I am working, and at that point the dad had not stopped the formal employment. So then the teacher decides atafanya kivyake, like, you're paying for these sessions, then Marcus is taken for the sessions late, get to the center late. The person who is doing therapy says, time yenyu imeisha, I'm seeing another client. They go home. The therapist does not tell us that we have not done sessions. The teacher, of course, knows it's her mistake, because she won't say. So you can imagine, by the time I got to realize what was happening, I was broken. Then I thought, let me talk to her. At least, I also need relief. I need also myself, because I am also working. We need to look for these finances to be able to finance all these things. So, so at that point, I decided, let me talk to her nicely and explain to her, it's not my wish. Anybody could have this kind of a child. So kindly, just let us work together. I used even to pay for her during the holidays, but I'm the one who is with the child. It can be even during the holiday, don't worry. I'll be taking care of my son. I'll be the shadow teacher then, but I'll still pay you. Imagine, she waited for end month. Aliona tu M-Pesa hivi. She left my son in school and disappeared.
Because I was about to ask, this shadow teacher, is this mwalimu wa kawaida, ama it's someone who has even information about autism? Okay,
ideally, it's supposed to be somebody who is very well trained, but they cost an arm and a leg. So it's somebody with background in early childhood. You try. I did a lot of mentorship and like training. Remember, I am a professional. I know what needs to be done. So of course, nilimtrain ya bure. Sisemi ni ya bure because ilimsaidia. Hopefully, ilimsaidia wherever she went. But those are some of the challenges. So after that, we had to move. We had to move. We used to be in Kikuyu. We had to move to Thika Road because we got a school where at least we knew that everything was within the school. So at least there was the OT. There was no speech therapy there. There was OT. There was also now they promised to do his diet. But we didn't last again. So after 2 terms, we had to leave.
To leave the school, not the neighborhood.
To leave the school. To leave the school. And remember, I work in Karen. So we had moved to Thika Road just because of our son.
Of the school,
So when our son couldn't handle the environment, unfortunately, sometimes I would say maybe lack of skill or lack of commitment, things did not go as they had promised.
Okay.
So the same diet that we used to pay extra money for, it was not provided. The same teachers who were supposed to take care of him, he ended up being, the same thing I'm telling you, being pinched because of screaming, and he would scream because of sensory overload.
Yes.
So after 2 terms, even the being able to sustain the cost, it was actually high. So since we were not able to sustain the cost as well, because we ended up paying per term. It was close to around 75 to 80,000 one term. So, but thank God, we eventually now got a place for him in a special school. So we took him to that special school. It is in Karen, Mokindori Road. So we had to move back.
No, yes.
We had to move from Thika Road again. And there he stayed for 5 years in that school. That was the longest in Marcus' life. He stayed there. He learned a lot of things, and he was able to achieve most of the milestones. So we realized that now he needed more challenge. So that was during COVID time. So now during COVID time, of course, him learning online, it didn't work.
Yes.
It didn't work. So he was out for some time. We tried to continue doing things at home. At that time we started to do some little farming, chicken farming. So we put chicken for him, at least for that 1 year. He stayed home, and we taking care of chicken. He did so well. But since now he had peaked, even in terms of beginning skills in reading, writing, and everything, we put him in a smaller school, a regular school, but a smaller school. Because again, for him, working in a big environment is a challenge because of the noise and there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of sensory heightening issues around him. So we took him to a smaller school, which was near home. So it was manageable, and Marcus blended so well with the teacher, the particular teacher that worked with him. But then this year, things change. Of course, you see now this is a regular school. There things are changing. And when it wasn't that teacher anymore, Marcus went into depression. So that is how we ended up pulling him from school.
The man ako home sasa.
Sasa ako home. From May, he has been at home.
And what does the education constitute? Because normally watu watafunzwa maths, English, like just the kawaida subjects. No, for such children, what does the education look like?
I would say that holistic, education for every child, not only children with special needs, should be holistic. But of course, for them, it is there has to be that keen eye on the holistic development of that child. Of course, that involves that a child apart from learning academics, they need to learn to be independent. They need to learn to speak. In case of somebody like Marcus who struggles with speech. And there is also the diet element of it. So there's a lot to learn. Also, they have skills that we normally say that there's something we call multiple intelligence. So in this case, this child could be having something that is not necessarily reading, writing, and mathematics. Like our son, I can tell you that is not his area. He has other areas that he can venture better. So this needs to be incorporated. Extracurricular activities that include sports, that includes things like swimming, games, computers, all those things. So those are some of the things that I would say are needed. They also, of course, need the social skills, social interaction skills. And social interaction skills, for them, the person in charge has to be intentional. It's not vile unaambia watoto tokeni huko nje mcheze, and then somehow they learn and they blend, and the child comes and tells you, niko na a new friend. For them, unless you're intentional and you're there, it has to be structured. They don't learn as easily.
Okay, so now currently, what are some of the things that Marcus can do independently?
self-help skills, he's completely independent.
Okay.
He does not need anyone to help him with feeding, with shower, organizing his stuff. His bedroom
Yes.
is one neat place. Of course, this year it got a hitch. I have told you that he got into depression.
Yes, yes.
And of course, you know what happens when someone has depression. The things they have had interest in, they are things that they are the same things that they withdraw from. Like for him, he withdrew. So he withdrew and then he became aggressive. And withdrawing means he withdrew even from the things that he used to do. Apart from taking care of self, Marcus takes care of his environment. Okay. He takes care of, like now we have some ducks. He's the one who takes care of those ducks. But because of that time, it's like he went back. You know, what we had done for 10 years, we are kind of, what do I put it? We are starting all over again. Yeah. So recently, he's not where he was, but self-help skill, he's good. Even if I bring him to you, you won't have to do anything for him. Yeah, he can also do basic things like chopping vegetable. I'm trying to teach him how to cook, but sometimes because of the fire. You're not sure of the safety. But these are things that he's learning.
Okay, great. Now speak to us like the expert that you are. What should maybe parents look out for? Those with young children, maybe there are signs that someone can detect early on and seek intervention. What are some of those things?
Of course, like you have said, early intervention is best.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it has hindrances. But what I would say is, one, there's that instinct that tells you there's something. Yeah. It might not be seen. You see, when it is physical challenges, you can be able to see. You can see my child has a problem or a challenge with the hand, with the leg, with with the limbs or something. But when it is these other neurological challenges, you're not able to see. So if I normally say, if you sense, you're not sure, I would rather you find out and and confirm that it was nothing instead of keeping quiet. Because the more you do, the more it sits deep within you. And as it sits deep within you, it eats you up. Mpaka, when it gets now to that time to do intervention, you have no energy left. Believe you me, energy huisha. There are times I look at things like this and I will tell myself, a day at a time. Watch you repeat it, and then we move on. But then I would encourage parents, like, let that child not be your personal child, because you are going to die with that child. Speak out. There are people who are out there who either have gone through the same or are experts in the same. So speak out, seek help. If you're not sure your child is cries a lot, find out. It is better to find out and realize it was nothing. If your child is not able to verbalize words at the age of 2, those are red flags. A child who has challenges maintaining eye contact. A child who is a loner, like they don't really, among children will always find a way of, utapata mtu, within 2 minutes, children are together, they have become friends. They don't know each other's name, but they are playing. If you realize that your child is different, it is good to seek out, to seek for that help, you know? Okay.
Do you have any more questions? I think, do we have support groups like for such parents? Because for autism, actually the first time I heard about it was in a series. I was watching a movie. I think the series was The Good Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And then now the person that I had talking about it, story yake, I think her name is Maria Mwende, Mama Shane. She, even her Instagram is about raising Shane. Now the son, huyo son ndo niliona mtu mwenye anaongelea yako na experience. I hadn't even thought, because I've never seen anyone close to me. So now, do we have like support groups for parents? Yes.
I'm telling you, necessity is the mother to invention. There are many. There are so many support groups out there. Of course, some of them, they are formed out of necessity. Tunakutana na huyu na wewe na nani mwingine, and we have a common problem. So we form a group. There are some which, of course, have are sponsored. So there are groups that are out there for autism. We have Autism Mom, we have DTSK. There are so many groups.
Okay.
So point is, try and reach out as a parent
them,
and find out what suits you. Again, what I've come to realize is that there could be those forums, but you don't fit in all of them. Actually, there are some that I joined earlier and I had to leave because, like I told you, it has a lot of emotional demand, and there are groups you get into depending on probably how they were constituted, and the things they talk about, you are under pressure all the time. You feel like you have not done anything for your child because they will talk about many things. Go and look for this. Go for this. Take your child to this, and the places they are talking about. There are places probably you can't afford.
Yes,
but again, there are those manageable groups. We also have other forums that are for professionals that are able, if you're able to reach out to them, they're able to help you with information. The good thing with parent support groups, it's because now you are able to, you have a place that you call your home. It's your space. You have a sense of belongingness. It's some space where you can actually even be able to cry and nobody judges you. They will tell you, no hugs, mom. I mean, it's okay. Yeah. So such groups are there. So what I can say is that be open, speak out. It's after speaking to that person and that other one without hiding our children. By the way, I don't hide Marcus. Marcus has gotten lost enough times because I go with him. If you invite me to your house, if you don't want Marcus, you also don't invite me because I'll have to come with him. I'll explain to you. We'll try to make temporary adjustments to suit us if you need us in your house. So if you don't hide these children, you definitely are able to find other people who now you also become an encouragement. You're able to form a team and things become bearable. Yeah.
About assessment, do the parents just go to any general practitioner, like are there specific specialists who will do the assessment?
Of course, there are specialists who do the assessment, and also we have government institutions like KISE, we have Kenyatta, they do assessment, and we also have other private practitioners who do the same. So those are, of course, you see, again, we are saying to you at the same level. So if somebody can go to KISE, there are others probably who would want very detailed assessments, and there are those people who have specifically trained, like the one who diagnosed Marcus is specifically trained for autism. So he's able to do as thorough, that's why he was able to do right from cognitive ability, social interaction, diet, or the biocellular analysis, all that put together, because that is his specialization. But I would tell somebody, sometimes we get undue pressure, because then you have heard of this very good doctor or this very good practitioner, you're not able to afford. Then you go selling your plots and everything. I sold enough things, rather we compromised so many things, we sold enough things. And I will tell you, after mukika chini, after like 5 years, you look at each other. That one time I looked at my husband and asked him, well, tunaelekea wapi? Where are we headed? I mean, you are the head of the family. Niambie tunaenda wapi? Because it's like we are working so hard, but we have nothing to show. Do you know there is even a time changing a table? I remember I had a very old table in my house, a coffee table. And then one time my mother came and told me, "Hey, Waboy, you need to change this table. Hii meza imekaa hapa sana." And I'm thinking, acha nisikupe pressure and it is not because you're not earning. Yes, you are, but everything you get, you hear there is this. We used to go for workshops, and then you go to workshops, you come out with a list of things that you have not done and you are supposed to do. But then, as soon as you understand that this is a condition, you do intervention and don't really look to heal autism, because you can't heal autism. I know people say so many things, but I could be of a contrary opinion that it is a condition, it is not a disease. Yes.
Okay, so my producer alikuwa mention that you are an educator, wewe ni mwalimu. So maybe you can share with us what you do, where you do it.
All right, mimi ni mwalimu. Yes, I did a bachelor's degree in special education. I'm also a student learning. I want to become a psychologist now. I'm almost done, so I can comfortably almost call myself a
Yes.
psychologist. So yes, so I could say I've done special education and psychology. I am a teacher of an international school in Karen called St. Christopher's International School. There, it's not a special school. So I do something we call learning support. Learning support is, because we have this, and I am one advocate for inclusion.
Yes.
These children should be included as much as possible. So when it comes to inclusion, I am at the center. So I advocate for it, and of course give ways and strategies of how we can be able to include these children in the system and help them to access learning. There is one thing to access an educational institution and also to access learning, to access the content, to access the curriculum. So that is basically my area. Passionate about it. So apart from that, I do so many other things out there. Because like now you can see I'm here.
Yes.
So this is I also do mentorship for young people. Of course, from different how do I put it? Different levels, because we have those who do very well and are ready to fly. The others who are struggling and they feel their low self-esteem is being affected. I'm not as good as I wasn't able to go to university. Everybody's talking about college. Mimi nitafanya nini? Those are also other things that I do. As well, I also talk to parents, especially mothers. Because mama, we carry so much burden that we forget ourselves. So I do that. And being a Christian, I also tell people about God. So I wear so many hats. And I am also a professional mother, I would say. So if you find me at home, I roll down with my children. We go running. Even now they are waiting for me because we didn't do a morning run. We go and run, including my markers. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And as we come to the end of the show, maybe just a word of encouragement to a mom who is raising a child with disability. Maybe they think they're the only ones, a mom. They find it just so challenging. What is a word of encouragement that you would share with them?
Okay, what I would tell that parent out there, that caregiver, of course, some probably are even guardians. I know it's not easy. I've gone through it. Even today, I still struggle. There are things I look at and wish they were different. And especially in the current economy. Tumepata pressure ingine hapo. But I want to encourage someone, please, tuko wengi, be encouraged from wherever you are. As much as you can, look for people to talk to. Don't hide that child. And also don't get embarrassed. Sometimes it is very embarrassing when we go out with our children and they do weird things. You feel very embarrassed. I keep explaining to people until then I told myself, I think I won't be giving details. What I'll just say, haelewi Kenya anafanya, so just leave him alone. Or where I need, of course, where I know that that child understands, I tell the child, no. And they also learn. So I want to encourage someone, come out, let's hold hands, let us form these support groups, even from within your reachable areas. You know, those people that you can reach. I'm sure right now, where we are, in every village, there are those children. That child could have autism, could have CP, could have ADHD. All these are challenges. So we come together, we support one another, and we are also calling out to the community. Please don't judge us. I've been judged. There's a time I was told I'm not a good Christian. I've not taught my child manners. So if we face that, please be encouraged. Know that it is a journey that we have to walk. There's a reason why we have these children in our houses. And if you get opportunities, also share. True. We also share opportunities so that then we are able to make things better.
Thank you so much. And with that, we close our show today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you've learned, and I hope you will extend grace to parents and do not be quick to judge. Ama uko wale wakuuliza mbona mtoto wako atembei, mbona haongei, extend grace and don't be quick to just jump into conclusions about a situation. And until next time, bye and have a great day.